So we did a little vote, as you guys know, and we're going to do peels and why superficial peels are as amazing as deep peels with a lot less side effects. And how do you get the same results with superficial peels versus deep peels? And I actually have a few friends in the industry that have been in the industry and treated. I work with a lot of acne, and I have another friend who's worked with a ton of acne. She's been doing it 33 years. And I remember one day we were having a conversation about how we do our peels. And what we discovered was through trial and error and working with many different peel lines and also working on our own clients, thousands of them, we realized that there's an optimal way to do peels, and this was through trial and error, and lots of different techniques. So I had training with some of the oldest peel companies in the industry, and there were a few things when I started doing peels that I changed to make the peels more user-friendly for the client, get them the same results, but not have to go through so much downtime. Every client's goal is to get the results and not have too much downtime, okay? No matter what they tell you, nobody wants to peel like a zombie and go through wound healing. So what you want to avoid with your client is getting them into a wound healing phase. So even some of that medium depth, like snakeskin shedding, is getting into a wound healing phase. Okay, so it's best, which is why in California, we're supposed to stay with superficial peels. We're not supposed to go to medium or deep depth. And the reason is the risks increase exponentially. So you have risks with peels every time you do them. But the chances of something going wrong, and Hi, I see someone talking. I see people joining and then like getting bumped off, so I hope everybody's okay. Oh, now I see 4 of you. So remember, you can get the same results with superficial peels. Why would you go into wound healing when you don't have to? So how do you do that? And this is where, hi Luann, this is where my friend and I's conversation comes back into play. So she does tons of acne. We've both worked on thousands of clients. We've both worked with multiple peel lines. I love peels, so every peel I could get my hands on. As a young esthetician, I worked with a lot of lines, okay? So I had a long-time esthetician and friend the other day. She did a peel on herself and she goes, for some reason I left it on and it neutralized, and then, so our peels are self-neutralizing, as this is taught in some peel lines, but I never recommend with any peel that you leave it on, okay? So that's gonna be part of this class. There's no instance where you could leave it on, but there's too many what if factors. So you wanna do the peels, give excellent results, give a lunchtime peel, which means no downtime, right? Everyone wants to just have a little bit of dryness and have no downtime after the peel. They want to just start looking fabulous, right? Well, there's a way to deliver that to your client. So the way that I figured out was the best way to do this was you give quicker, more superficial peels closer together. When you go down to wound healing depth, the healing time is 1 week to 2 weeks. So you can't do more peels while they're still healing from the first peel. So with superficial peels, you can get to the same result by, now we're not talking if they go in and get laser or there's peels through the doctor where you're literally like bloody and then you heal and your skin has so much new scar tissue, which is what it is, that you're pink for like 6 months. that's a whole different type of peel, and that's not a peel estheticians should be delivering. So what your client's gonna want is to just start looking fabulous. They don't want to walk around with the little rashy patches and bumps and, you know, skin coming off in sheets if they don't have to. And I found that when I saw the results from medium depth peels, which is when estheticians are going deeper, they're going to medium depth, which can produce all kinds of things like sheets of skin, you know, peeling off. It can produce something that looks like a histamine type of a, you know, you can get like little bumpy stuff going on all over the cheeks. So you can get a rash. You can get itching, raised, puffy skin, puffy eyes. All of this is a normal part of medium depth peel. And most clients coming to us, even if they want results, you really need to make sure, if you're allowed in your state to go to medium depth, that they know what they're in for. They know that there's going to be some stuff that's kind of crazy looking, and it's going to heal up over a week to 2 weeks. So I highly recommend sticking with superficial depth with most clients and do them closer together. So if you want to up the results, or you want to get a little bit of light flaking and peeling. So most of the time when a client is well exfoliated and they're well hydrated, they're gonna see dry skin, which is actually peeling. But it just feels like their skin's a little dry and rough. But you have to reassure yourself and your clients that that dry, rough skin is actually all the dead skin cells sloughing off from the peel. So it's really common when they start exfoliating to feel really dry and rough. And then as time goes on, when they're really well exfoliated every week and they're using the home care exfoliation, so that's a whole nother part to this. If you guys are doing professional peels and you're not giving your client something to continuously exfoliate with at home, you're missing a whole part of this whole thing. Not only that, it keeps you more at superficial depth. So you're constantly helping the skin cells turn over without causing inflammation. So when you do a superficial peel, you might get a slight inflammation, or the skin might feel just different, you know, for 24 to 48 hours. But a lot of times the client doesn't notice, but some super sensitive clients may. And some of the common practices I was taught when I was learning peels were, you put the peel on, you let it self-neutralize, and you let the client walk out the door with it on. And here's the problem with that philosophy. Every peel line that said I could do that, I had clients reactivate. And not just a few, I mean a lot of people reactivated. And I just had it happen with our peel with one of our estheticians. So she had done it a few times the way that we recommend. She just got a little dryness and she's like, hey, you know, I want to get a little deeper peel. So she thought, because of some teachings from some other products, I'll just leave the peel on. And I said, oh, I don't recommend that. And the reason is, when she got into the steam in her facial room, the steam reactivated the peel. So even if it's self-neutralizing, all of the companies that teach you that will also tell you if they go in the sun, it'll reactivate. If they start sweating, it'll reactivate. If they get warm and a little tiny bit of sweat, it'll reactivate. If you're in a steamy room or it's super humid, like how many climates out there are just super humid all the time, the peel can rehydrate and reactivate. And you have to teach people with their home care that that's also possible, but it's a much lower strength, so you're not as likely to see that. So number one with superficial peels, you want to recommend up to twice a week, not just once a week, once every 2 weeks, because when you're going deeper, you can't do that, okay? So what does that deliver for your client? Why might they want to pay a little more to have peels more often? Because they can get not noticeable to the outside world, but noticeable with the result that they're getting, they can start to get major results. So what person, doesn't want to go in, start looking better, but not have the world looking at you going, what kind of work did you get done there, So I found that most of my clientele doesn't want people knowing that they're doing some work on their skin. Although sometimes people become excited because it's so noticeable, and then they'll gush about how great it is, to their friends, and that's a good thing. But this is coming from a lot of experience with, I work with aging, a lot of acne, pigment, and reactive skins. So a lot of problem skins. And when you go to these deeper depths with peels, not only are you creating a lot of inflammation, but you're creating a much higher incidence of a side effect for clients. So clients, I've noticed, are good to a certain extent about following their program really closely. When you get those clients that are following their program and they're really good about it, but they forget certain things, and sometimes that affects, sort of their safety. Like if they went out with Retin-A on in the sun, that's going to be a problem. If you have a peel on that could reactivate, and they've done it several times and they forget what they're supposed to do, I like to remove all of those factors from the mix. I'd rather do a longer, stronger peel, neutralize it completely and take it off, than leave it on and have a potential problem. Even if you teach your clients, I've noticed that they only remember so much, and there's a psychological aspect to that. They're only going to retain, a couple of things, even when they're a really good client. So when you have a product that has all this potential to reactivate, or it's going to go really deep and they have to do sort of like wound care type of care because their face is peeling off in sheets, the more complicated it gets, the more what if factors you get with your client. So you want to remember that there's just a whole psychological element where it needs to be as simple as it can be, but it also needs to be detailed in the fact that they need to use a certain program for it to work the best that it can. So some exceptions to this would be, if it's legal in your state to do certain depths or other treatments like microneedling, which we can't do in California. But some people have really deep, like pitted scarring, with acne. And the peels that I'm talking about and good product is going to make a huge difference. But because the damage was so bad and the scar tissue is so bad, under different care, they might need to do some deeper treatments, but that'll be temporary. Then they're going to need your help to do a maintenance program, which is going to be most of their life with skincare. So you want a really strong maintenance program with peels and exfoliation. And what I learned years ago was one acid or one product doesn't work better than others. So if you get a blend of the right acids, that gives you the best results. And they did a lot of testing on Retin-A and glycolic because those were like, the holy grail forever in skincare. And your client needs a combination of doing peels and home care properly so that they get the best results with peels. And I don't recommend, like I said, doing those really deep peels when you don't need to. There's not a good reason. You also can't do that in California. And I don't recommend getting them on a peel program if you're not going to get them on the home care, because you're really taking away a whole bunch of result that they're going to get. So you also, I think what you don't do, and this is from experience and trying a lot of lines, especially what you don't do is take these big, powerful treatments with someone you don't know well yet, their skin, and then just start hitting their skin with everything you've got. It's always better to do less and work your way up to doing more, especially with something like peels. You can always take it deeper, but once you go too deep and you cause a problem, you can't take it back. It's kind of like eyebrows. Once you make the eyebrow too thin in the wrong shape, it has to grow back and go through a recovery process, and so does the skin. And so most clients want to get good results, but they want to do it in a way where the whole world, isn't going to be looking at this process that they're going through. So they can go to work and they can go and do their everyday things and get really, really nice skin. And peels are a big reason my skin looks the way it does. I've done a peel once to twice a month, and I've done home care acids in some form for 17 years. And I don't have any wrinkles that I didn't have when I was 18 years old. So you want to keep, I've had age spots try to come out, and I'm a firm believer in peels and doing exfoliation. But I think that there's a happy place where you get the dryness and the flaking, but when you're well hydrated, it's really hard to see. And you do that more often, which you have so much control, because you can do the peel a little bit longer. And so, you just turn it up a little bit if someone's skin is really not responding at all. But every time you do a treatment, whether you're seeing this huge process that they're going through or not, you are getting results. And this comes from working on a lot of people. So don't ever think because you're not seeing something happen like peeling, that you're not getting results with peels. The minute people even start using a home care acid, they're starting to get better cell turnover. It's going to start brightening their skin. And there's nothing wrong with starting slower and then working your way into a more potent treatment if that's what they need. Okay? So, does anybody have any questions for me? So the big thing is there's a whole part of the industry that doesn't like peels or like certain acids for some reason, and then there's part of the industry that's somewhere in between, and then there's part of the industry that goes for these really powerful peels. So let me go into that a little bit. There's a bunch of acids that are more man-made acids, and I do believe that the more you can get back to almost organic or natural sources where they're not extracting, like glycolics in some cases are extracted with formaldehyde. Hi, I see everybody. So formaldehyde is not good for our body, and I'd rather see it enzyme extracted than formaldehyde extracted for good reason. So you need to make sure. I also don't like, and I'm sorry if some of you are using products that are formulated a certain way. I don't mean to speak badly ever about anybody's practice or anybody's line, but I've tried a lot of things, and I'm a more organic person. So I don't like seeing peels in an alcohol base either. I think it's unnecessary. I've used a lot of gel and a lot of alcohol-based peels, and you have much more control with a gel or some sort of powder with an activator, something like that. So the more natural or organic the peel is as well, the easier it is to control in some cases. Sometimes the man-made chemical peels were harder to control, because I think what happens there is anything that goes on or in the body that didn't grow in nature, we're basically programmed to recognize something that's grown organically or naturally, and it feeds our body information in a certain way. So when you have something man-made in general, it confuses the body, especially like a fragrance. If you had fake lavender and real lavender, your body takes the real lavender and says, I know exactly what I'm going to do with that. And then it takes the fake lavender and says, what is that? And then sometimes it plops it somewhere, sometimes it creates inflammation. You know, your body doesn't know how to react to certain things that you're putting on or in it, okay? So keep that in mind with peels. Peels are kind of a deeper treatment that you're doing, and they're more of an intense treatment. And so the more man-made you get and the less natural and organic, the more of a chance you've got for side effects and basically certain ingredients even that are fillers, you know, like alcohol, more of almost like a rubbing alcohol type of base, can be very inflammatory. So then you got the peel and the inflammation going on, and you really want to avoid that when you're doing something that's more, it's going to do like a superficial peel, or even treatments where you're infusing product, and there's a bunch of things that are more active that we do, microderm. So when you put unpredictable ingredients in the mix, then you get results that you're not looking to get, because the body, and some bodies are more reactive than others, but some bodies are like, what is that? You know, and then they just start getting inflamed really quickly. So I hope this class was helpful. Don't forget, if you're peeling, to have your clients on sun care, the right products, that you're giving them supporting products at home to keep exfoliating. Remember that some of the tried and true acids are not the only acids out there. So retin-A and glycolic were the thing for so many years. You know, lactic salicylic's been around a long time, but there's a lot of other acids that are great, and each one is a little bit different the way that it functions. The best thing to get is a blend of acids from the most natural and organic sources that you can, so the body recognizes it. Okay? I will be talking to you all soon. Happy 2/22. And if you're going to watch this on YouTube later, make sure you like, subscribe, and hit the bell notification. And I reached 100,000 subscribers, so we'll see if I get a silver play button. Happy 2/22.